think catching big bass in highly pressure ponds is all about luck or expensive gear like the Shimano Corrado DC200 that I own. Well, the truth is, it's not. This common misconception leaves countless anglers stuck in their traps, empty-handed without any bass. Today in this video, we're going to be shattering myths, legends, tall tales about pond fishing and reveal the subtle yet effective fishing technique called finesse fishing that will revolutionize the way you approach and fish ponds for bass. Prepare to transform your approach and consistently land those challenging fish, no matter how pressured the pond may be. First off, not really like a part of the finesse fishing video, but I got a new puppy. His name is Maple. It's a golden doodle, 8.5 weeks old. And look at that little face. You can't make fun of that little face. A little nice wavy hair, sort of nice brown color. Maple is the name that I have chosen, that we voted on really. But it's so cute. Alright, now back to the video. The biggest misconception I see people do is whenever they go to a pond, they treat it like a giant lake. Now in a giant lake, the bass's strike zone greatly increases. Now in a pond, which are usually smaller than lakes, shrinks dramatically. And since there's less bass in that pond than the lake, they're more pressured. And ponds are usually more fish than lakes because not everybody has a boat. And ponds are usually close to people's houses and easy to fish with kids and stuff like that. So you have shrinkage to strike zones and super pressured bass and not very many bass in the pond you're fishing. I'll dive deeper into the strike zone shrinkage because in larger lakes, the bass feed on shad, crawfish, bluegill, maybe some other types of bait fish or crustaceans or something. But in ponds, usually it's either crawfish or bluegill. Usually it's just bluegill. There's usually mostly bluegill, red-eared sunfish, all sorts of sunfish. There's not usually shad. So you don't want to be throwing like shad colored baits. So like a shad colored fluke. Now will bass still eat those? Yes, but you want to throw more bluegill. You want to match the hatch as closely as you can. Especially in highly pressured ponds, bass will most of the time not be in open water, usually. They could be cruising, but those bass are pretty much impossible to catch. But most of the time they're going to be close to cover. So precise casts are key to catching bass. And also using lighter line, getting precise casts, using light line. So maybe you use like 10-pound fluorocarbon to your leader on your 15-pound braid set up for your spinning reel for like lakes. But on ponds you want to make like maybe like a 6 or like a 4 even pound lines. Trust me, bass can somehow, I don't know how they do it, they have like sonar cast to their heads. They can see the line underwater. Bigger lines create a bigger profile underwater and easier for the bass to see. But a 4-pound or 6-pound line cannot see as easy because they're thinner and less seeable by a bass. Another thing you want to do whenever you're fishing ponds is use the lightest weight you possibly can. If you're fishing a drop shot and you're somehow not catching bass, but your drop shot has a 3/0 hook Texas rig as the hook and a 6-inch robo worm or an 8-inch robo worm and a 1/4 ounce drop shot weight, no wonder you're not catching them because the bass can dang see that 3/0 red line treble Texas rig hook and they can dang hear that 1/4 ounce weight. Now what you should do is go down to like a 2 or a 1 size nose ring hook, like a little 2 or 3-inch bait fish profile in a watermelon bait fish color, bluegill color. Then make those bluegill, and then get an 1/8 ounce or even a 1/16 ounce drop shot weight. Because I was fishing in a pond. I was fishing on my pond with my friends, and I was catching a lot of bass. Like I was out fishing pretty much everybody there, okay? And I was using a tiny size 2 nose ring hooked, a little 2.5-inch little minnow style bait. Green pumpkin and white was the color, because they're eating little small bluegills and red-eared sunfish in that pond, and a small 1/8 ounce tungsten drop shot weight. Now the key about tungsten is between lead is bigger, like there has to be more mass to make it like the same size. So like the atom of lead weighs more than the atom of tungsten does. Like, no, an atom of lead weighs less than an atom of tungsten. So an atom of tungsten weighs more than an atom of lead. So overall, I'm trying to say an 1/8 ounce lead weight is going to be a lot bigger than an 1/8 ounce tungsten weight. So you can get away with throwing a little bit heavier weights using tungsten rather than lead. But I'll still stick to those rather like 1/8 ounce or 1/16 ounce weights, no matter what lead or tungsten choice you use. Now back to what I was saying about fishing. I was catching all of the bass most of the time. And I was using a little tiny hook, a little tiny bait, and a little tiny weight with 6-pound line to a 10-pound braid leader on a medium light spinning rod. And the reason I was catching all those other fish, because I was fishing finesse, and that pond was pressured, like pressured. Like the pond was it's pretty clear. I had like 3 foot, 4 foot visibility, so it's pretty clear. And you could see bass cruising the banks looking for a little bluegill. And if you pitched anything at them, anything within like a 5-foot radius, they're gone, they're dipping. Or if they see you, they're gone, they're dipping. So you have to make sure that you cast really, really smooth. Like I'm talking like you gotta like land in there with no splash at all. Real subtle, real slow, real finesse. And I've cast probably about 2 or 3 fish that I've seen and caught them using an 1/8 ounce drop shot weight to a little small swim bait. And all my other friends, my other friend was using a drop shot, but he wasn't catching them because he was using a 6-inch worm on a Texas rig with a 1/4 ounce weight, and he was on bait cast, so he wasn't catching them. My other friend was using a spinning rod with a 1/4 ounce weight and a 2-aught sized Texas rig hook, and he wasn't catching them. But I was the only one catching them consistently on a drop shot hook. Roll the clip. What size weight you throwing? I'm throwing. Oh, got one.
Let's go.
Oh, good one. It's a good one. It's a good one. It's a good one. Come on here.
Go. Lucius dragging the nation.
Well, I have 6-pound line, bro.
Why do you want 6?
Because they're line shy. And that's 9 for us. You gotta step up your game. Ow. And as you see in that video, I was looking over some reach and I seen a bass, a pretty good bass too, probably like 1.5 pounds. And I pitched at it and I just shook it a few times right in the face. He went up there and then, and what I learned from that bass is less is more. The less time you move the bait, the reel it in, the more time you just let it sit there and just let the bass stare at it is more. Bass in pressured ponds are used to seeing lures move really quickly because people fish in there, run their spinning baits through, one of their chatterbaits through, and gets nothing, okay? But the key is to do as little movement as possible, okay? The bass, because when I seen that bass, I was shaking it and I just stopped. He swam up there, looked at it for about 5 seconds, and I shook it one more time, like a tiny little tail twitch of this little swim bait. And then that's when he decided to eat it. But that bass probably looked at it for like a minute to 2 minutes before he decided to eat that. So any other normal person would be like, oh, that bass don't want it, let's move on to the next one. But I knew that bass would eat if I tried to not do anything. Also, is going as small as you possibly can. If you're going as small as you think you should, go smaller. If you think you're small enough, go smaller. If you're pretty sure that that's pretty much as small as you possibly can go smaller. There is always a smaller option than the bait you are throwing. I'm telling you, if you can throw a 1-inch size paddle tail swim bait, throw a 1/64 ounce head, okay? These bass are pressured, okay? These bass do not want to eat, okay? You have to convince them that your bait looks exactly like that minnow swimming right there next to it. This can be a challenge for some anglers because some anglers just want to go to the bank, throw a spinnerbait or some chatterbait and see if any bass will come eat it. Sometimes they will, but most of the time they run far, far away from that bait. Now the art of retrieves. When you're fishing highly pressured bodies of water, retrieves can anything. What I was saying earlier is that you want to do as little as possible, but sometimes you want to do as much as you possibly can. I was fishing one pond and I was sucking some grass and I popped it out and then boom, I got bit. Because I noticed, and then what I think what happened was the bass was looking at it, and when it popped up like 10 feet in the air, that's when it decided to eat. So after that, I started just popping it on purpose. Like it was like they're shooting up from the bottom 2 to 3 feet in the water column. And I started catching bass. So sometimes fast moving retrieves catch bass, but you just have to play with them if it's slow, more methodical, little tiny shakes, or ginormous hops off the bottom. But usually you're standing like little hops, reel in, little hops, reel in, little hops, reel in, reel. Don't work. Either go really finesse, little tiny hops, little tiny shakes, or big aggressive hops are the only ways that I've found to consistently catch bass. Now you may catch like 1 or 2 on those standard retrieves, but to consistently catch bass and big ones out of your pond,
Hello.
fish those extremes. Little tiny finesse shakes or big aggressive pops. I was fishing a pond not too long ago with my friend. As you probably know, I came from the clip earlier, and I was catching them consistently on a drop shot. And here is some footage of me consistently proving to you that I can catch bass on a drop shot, and all the stuff that I said in this video is true. Here we go. Here's the first one.
There's gotta be a bass over here. There's one. Hey, does it count? Henry, we got one more.
If that's not enough for you, here's 3 at one time.
Let it soak. That's one. Oh my God. I think it's a good fish. Oh, it's a good fish. Yeah.
Literally showing me how to fish.
Henry. That's 6.
That's
Oh, I think it's a good one. Hey, Henry. Bow flip. That's 6. We're all tied up. No. Bow flip.
And then to all sum it up, the big one of the day.
Henry.
Hope you all enjoyed this video. Hope you all learned something about how to catch finesse pond bass, picky pond bass, and how to outfish your friends. So hope you all enjoyed this video. Catch a big one, and make sure to like and subscribe. Peace out. Catch a big one. Peace.